Good afternoon, and to some, good morning. My name is Rob Durham. I'm Vice President of Operations and Transformation at Equifax, and I'm going to be one of your two co-hosts today for the webinar. So for today, we have almost 750 people registered for today's session. So I think first and foremost, we wanted to thank you for your interest and your time. I know everybody's calendars are busy these days and really appreciate you making an hour to spend with us. Today you're going to hear from me at the opening. You'll see there's some introductory remarks I'll make, talking a little bit about what transformation is, what it means for you, and some of the changes that you can expect to see. Niall Shaw, who is leading our customer engagement portion of the transformation project, so we'll be working directly with our customers and through his team. We'll take you through things around some changes to product, some changes to endpoints, or the way you connect to us. Some of the user interfaces you'll see changing and modernizing and becoming much improved. And he'll talk through sort of a high-level roadmap of how we will proceed from now through the transformation process. For us, we want to be fully transformed with all people and all of our customers using our new system and new consumer credit bureau by the end of next year. So I think we've got a really good plan around delivering that. It is an ambitious plan, but the faster we get there, the better for all of us, because there's a ton of opportunity and benefit for our customers. Just before we get started, a couple of housekeeping details. You will notice on the left side of your screen a Q&A widget. If at any time you've got questions through the presentation, feel free to enter them. We have people that are standing by to receive those, and then we'll forward them to the presenter to be able to answer them. In the event we don't get to all of those, don't worry, we are capturing them all, and we will update our FAQ document and post that for you. Also on the left side of your screen, you'll see a resource widget. In that are a pretty comprehensive set of FAQs that we've already captured and put together. We've also included there a pocket guide, which will give you some additional information on the subjects that are covered today. Presentation should be in the middle of your screen, and you'll see a little information on myself and Niall on the left side. And at the conclusion of this final housekeeping item, there'll be a short survey. It should automatically pop to your screen at the end of the presentation, but should you wish to do that later, you can return to the presentation and click on the survey button on the bottom of your screen. So with that, let's talk a little bit about transformation and maybe just some opening remarks about it. Currently, Equifax's technology platform is mainframe based. And while that is a good and reliable platform, it does not do all the things that we would like it to be able to do to better serve you. So we are moving to a new cloud-based platform. But to think of this as a technology transformation and simply a move to the cloud would be an underestimation of what this is. This is really a business transformation. And I think importantly, it is based on customer feedback. Many of you, through your daily interactions with us and our account teams, or through possible interviews, surveys, focus groups over the last number of years, have been looking for more from Equifax, looking for us to be easier to do business with, easier to access our data, more rapid innovation and new products and services. And so really that is what underpins this transformation. This is all about us trying to find better ways to serve you so that you can serve your customers better. From my perspective, it's an exciting time to be at Equifax, and I think you're going to find it's a great time to be an Equifax customer. So one of the things that I'd like to open with is a short 90-second video. I think it lays a great foundation for understanding what it is we're doing. And once we come out of that 90-second video, we'll get into some more detail around the project and the benefits to you.
Data quality and standardization is foundational to delivering optimal business decisions. Integrated data that is uniformly keyed and linked is critical to producing the highest quality outcomes. At Equifax, we're weaving our assets into a single connected environment called Data Fabric. Streamlining data from analytics through production positions your business for growth. Whether it's enhanced identity assessment and fraud prevention, more reliable and precise credit decisioning, or even predictive analytics and marketing insights, connected data is the heart of our cloud transformation. It's not just lifting and shifting existing systems, and we are no longer constrained by legacy data centers. We're transforming our data infrastructure to help you gain competitive advantages through speed and flexibility, collaborating together for advanced data solutions. As our engineers have designed and are now evolving the data fabric, we create differentiated and unique exchange databases and purpose them for the unique needs of your industry. We calculate and certify attributes and scores. And finally, launch new and innovative products designed for you. All while tapping the unique potential of the cloud to exponentially improve scalability and security, delivering the highest quality data for consistent outcomes. This is proof that we're putting the cloud to work for you.
My apologies. I just saw a note that I failed to come off mute at the end of that video, so sorry about that. What I was saying was that the video captures that this is not just about the technology. Yes, we are going to the latest and greatest technology, and we are going to a cloud-based solution. And we're doing that in and around trying to maximize and make the most out of our most significant asset, our data. So if you think about the combination of a cloud-based platform with the world-class data asset that we have now, it then enables us to provide the best fraud and identity solutions, provide incredible insight, enables credit decisions for you, and also allows us to provide analytics that help you guide your customers through the customer journey with you. In short, the whole point of this is we're trying to help you help provide you with better decisions so that you can better serve your customers. As this slide in front of you indicates, it's not just something that's going on in Canada. The transformation exercise at Equifax is going across 26 countries, all the countries in which Equifax does business. It represents a $1.5 billion investment, and the two countries that are going first in this investment are Canada and the US. Broadly speaking, it delivers benefits across the 12 categories, the 10 categories that you see in front of you on the slide. And in the next slide, I'd like to go a little bit deeper into 5 of them. So firstly, you have stability that's always on. this is technology that's purpose-built for today's 7x24 world. Formerly, on a mainframe system, you would have planned outages, times when we needed to go offline to do maintenance, to do work on the system so that it could perform at its peak during peak hours. This doesn't make sense in today's world. You have your customers that want to access you, in many cases, 7x24. You may have suppliers around the world that help you with your programming and your IT support that need access to your systems, our systems, and our UAT environments. Previously, that wasn't always possible because there were these planned outages. That goes away. The other thing that I think is hugely important about this is being always on. In addition to those planned outages, at times there were unplanned outages or incidents. In an environment that is cloud-based, the ability to have redundant capacity and redundant systems is something that is virtually unaffordable in a mainframe environment, which means that you can have incidents, you can have some of that unplanned downtime. In the future, the idea isn't just to be on 99% of the time, or you hear 99.99% of the time. The goal is always on, full stop. The other thing that's, a huge benefit in this is around the performance that we get from a system like this. So there's a couple of aspects to that. One is there's continuous monitoring and continuous testing so that we can see any degradations that might be happening in real time, which then goes back to that previous point about the fact that, that enables us to stay always on. And it allows us to stay always on because it's, so scalable. So if we are seeing an issue in one area of the platform, we can move that traffic elsewhere or add capacity so that it's seamless to you and our performance remains optimal in our ability to provide service. I think the other thing in the bottom there in the middle of the page is around security. And I think what's really interesting here, and the way we talk about it, is it's security that's built in, not bolted on. So in those mainframe environments that we were using previously, those were technologies of years ago that never envisioned the kind of cyber attacks and the type of security issues that you encounter today. As a result, when you're building your security for those things, you're bolting it onto the outside and around the perimeter. Yes, there's things that you can do on the interior as well, but it's not the same as building security from the inside out. And as we move to this cloud-based platforms, that's exactly what we've done. We've built security from the inside out. We get to take advantage of the infrastructure security that Google provides. I may not have mentioned earlier, but the cloud-based platform we're going to is GCP. And so Google has incredible, access infrastructure security that we can avail ourselves from. Things that you probably wouldn't have been able to do in most on-prem data centers. On top of that, when I talk about from the inside out, every application, every product, every service that we're rebuilding onto this platform is built with security from the inside out. And at the heart of it, our data will be encrypted both in transit and at rest. So, you've got something that's incredibly stable and always on, has great performance results, and world-class security. But from my perspective, that's mostly the table stakes stuff. You would expect a company like Equifax, when it goes through a transformation, that those are the things that we would do. And that when you move to these sorts of technologies, that these are some of the advantages that you get. They're real and important advantages, and they make a difference to you and your business. But I think it's also important that we understand that it should be just table stakes. What I want to talk about in a second is that there are a number of business advantages to that around data quality and innovation. But I am being told that we have a question. And the question, as I'm seeing it, says, does always on impact data security exposure and exposure to hacking? No, it does not. Always, because of the security features that I just spoke about, those things allow us to be always on and allow us to know that we have world-class security. As I said, this is a platform and a set of infrastructure that is built for today's environment, knowing the type of cyber attacks that happen, and it is as secure an environment as you can have. I would also add that we have done an incredible amount of testing with our security teams and with outside security teams to help validate the things that I'm talking to you about today. So another question is, does GCP have data centers in Canada? Great question. Yes, they do. We are very, very aware, given that our role as data stewards is to handle the data of Canadian consumers, that we must maintain all Canadian data for Canadian consumers in Canada. So this data will never leave Canada. That is something that is a part of just a part of the way we do business. So let me talk a little bit about the some of the, I'll call them more business benefits to this. So around data quality. So first thing is Equifax already has by far the largest and most comprehensive credit data base in the country. We have and ingest every month over 170 million different trade lines from our trade line contributors. We have 70% of all the inquiries, all the credit inquiries done in the market come through us. So we have a very large, very robust credit database. But we expect that to get even larger because we're going to make it easier for people to contribute data. So, and it is actually in my team, in the operations team, that we work with the data contributors, bring the data into our environment and into the credit bureau. And the mantra that I've been using with my team is any data at any time in any format. You might know that currently we have fairly restrictive formats in which we can accept data and load into the credit bureau. Going forward, what we want to do is make it as easy as possible for as many of our customers to become contributors and contribute their data. So when I say any data, anytime, any format, there's obviously a couple of restrictions. Clearly, we want credit data. Second would be, when I say anytime, as long as it's at the same time every month, so we're getting monthly snapshots of your customer base. And in any format means any electronic format. So we will take that and we will build the interpreters so that we can load the data. So given that we're already the largest and most comprehensive database, by adding these additional data sources to our database, I think we widen the margin and provide you with even greater service. This all turns around to mean, thicker, deeper, richer files for our customers to be able to use when considering who to lend credit to. The other thing around the data that's really important for you to know is, for the most part, right now, our data is credit data. We have a bunch of other data assets, but they're not all connected. They're not all keyed and linked off of the same to the same consumer. So, as an example, me as a consumer, Rob Durham, if you go in and you want to pull my credit data today, with my consent, obviously, you could go and get that. If you wanted other information about me, maybe my income and employment, maybe my property history, maybe my vehicle history. Those are data assets that we have, but that are not necessarily easily accessed. They are in separate databases than our credit database, and they're not. And so we have to take copies and do matching to be able to come up with that profile for you. In the future, assuming you subscribe to all those services, in a single pull, you could get my credit data, my income and employment, my property history, and my vehicle data, amongst the other data sets that we'll be adding. It's an incredibly powerful amount of information upon which to be able to make a decision as to whether you want to lend to me or not, whether you want to offer me a new product or not, or how you wanted to manage my ongoing account with you. So, the idea around having data at the center of what we do and making it as rich and robust as possible and as accessible as possible is core to what we're doing here. I'd say the other thing I wanted to talk just briefly about is around innovation. So right now, because of some of the way that I described that our data is stored, it's not as accessible as you would like, nor as accessible as we would like for doing R&D type activities around developing new insights or solutions. So, the world is a changing place, and we are in a situation where we need to react to these things, whether that is the financial crisis from 2008 to 9, the pandemic that we're in now, oil shocks that we've all seen, or competitive or market changes that happen. All of those things require you to be able to make changes to the way you think about lending and the way you want to serve customers. Currently, that can sometimes take us months or even quarters to create the product or solution that we could make available to you to be able to address those changing conditions. In the future, we're going to take months and quarters and turn it into days and weeks, so that we have the ability to access our data, come up with a hypothesis about what we think is going on in the market, test it against the data, convert it to some analytics to share with you and insights to share with you, and then convert it to a product or solution in, as I say, days and weeks, not months and quarters. So we're really excited about the types of solutions that we'll be able to develop and the solutions that we'll be able to bring to you. So what does this now mean, and what can you expect in the way of changes? In a second, I'm going to turn it over to Niall Shaw, and he'll take you through more details about this. But there's 3 key areas where there will be some changes in our current products, in the way that we connect with one another, and in the user interface that you'll use in a lot of cases to access our products and services. So Niall, maybe you'd like to take us through the next set of slides.
Thank you, Rob. Much appreciated. And I want to say a good afternoon to everybody who joined us this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to sharing this very exciting transformation information with you. So as Rob talked a little bit about the overall program and approach that we have, I'm going to take a few minutes here to talk about the kinds of changes that you should expect in this upcoming transformation and what some of those translate into from a product perspective, from an endpoint perspective, and from a user interface perspective. So let's talk a little bit about the product aspect. As Rob alluded to earlier, what we're trying to do in this transformation initiative is develop an opportunity that will demonstrate not just the value of doing a wholesale lift and shift of our services from what we would know is an on-prem or mainframe service where we currently have our products and services, apps and data capability, and simply moving that to the cloud and talking about that being a transformation. And we're actually talking about not just the location we're taking things to, but the value of the work that we're doing. So in this product transformation, what is that going to represent to you from a customer? So for most of our customers, there's little to no action that'll be required on your part to take advantage of the new capabilities in this transformation. There will be a significant amount of upside capability that you'll be able to leverage in this new context. So as Rob also mentioned to you a few minutes ago, the purpose in doing this transition is not to create service disruption or downtime opportunities that could potentially take place during this transformation stage. Is to ensure that there is minimal to no disruption to your services and zero anticipated downtime for that capability. So there is a component of this transformation which is important for us to note that is involved around the rationalization, sunset, and rebuild and replacement of products and services and capability for our customers. But for those customers who that would be affected by, they've already been contacted directly about those changes to product and service. So when we talk about a product, we have to talk about the ways and means that you'll connect to those products and services and the ways and means that you will connect to our data as a service as well, and the way that you would connect to our consumer and commercial bureaus. We call those endpoints. And so let's talk a little bit about what will happen in this transformed state for endpoints. So as Rob talked a few minutes ago about, we are embracing this cloud native model to allow us to fully leverage all of the capabilities of this transformed state in this newly transformed state of moving towards a cloud situation, or a cloud native model is what it's known as. And that's to allow us to bring availability, scalability, and reliability. I like to say that those are a lot of abilities, and that's quite a significant ask from an endpoint perspective. But there's a few things that need to take place that you'll need to be able to accomplish in order to be able to connect to us going forward in the future and complete those upgrades. So there are some properties around changing your security connectivity to those. One is that you'll have to recode to an HTTPS secure API connection. You'll have to reconfigure these security policies to connect to the new API. And if you're using a third party, you'll have to ensure that you contact that third party to coordinate this endpoint upgrade or migration. Now, there's a lot of technical capability listed in this service or listing here, but what we provide to you is a standard developer guide. It's outlined in detail on what those changes or migrations that need to take place. It is meant for developers or technology architects or senior technologists at your organization. And it's also meant for those, if you connect through a third party or LOS provider, they would need to contact Equifax to ensure that they receive a copy of this migration guide, as well as to ensure that they're a part of the migration wave scheduling that we will have to take place in this endpoint transformed state. So if you're already connecting to us to Equifax using a secure HTTPS protocol, you're already connecting to us to it using this modern and secure protocol connection that we want all of our customers to be connected towards, because as Rob alluded to earlier in the presentation, this transformation isn't simply just about a bolt-on to new security services. It's about a complete rethink and re-architecture of our securitization model and how we would provide that net to our customers. So there was a question earlier about the fact that when we migrate our data, apps, products, and services to the cloud, what securitization model are we providing? So we're providing this OAuth to securitization connection model, which means that you'll connect to us, you'll request this token and configure the policy to allow you to connect to the API interface. and also the encryption that will take place for the data once you are connected to our apps, products, data, and services through this API capability will provide, as Rob spoke of a few minutes ago, encryption at rest and in transit. We have chosen Google's GCP platform specifically for the extensive securitization modeling that it provides, the ongoing anonymization of consumer and customer data, and also the speed, redundancy, and reliability that these connected authentication systems and securitized models provide. So that really covers what the essence of OAuth 2 and HTTPS will provide from a highlight business perspective, and also to include in that, as well as what I've discussed a few minutes ago, within the developer guide, you will find additional information that speaks specifically around the changes that are required from a connectivity perspective to consume this new securitization model using OAuth 2 and TLS 1.2, and to also ensure that those connection points are in the recommended HTTPS protocol. So now that we've talked a little bit about the products and services that you currently consume with us. Yes.
So did we want to maybe just pause for a question or two if there are any?
Yes, we can certainly do that. Thank you, Rob. So I'm looking
as we wait
here.
For that I was just going to say, as we wait for a question to come, one of the things that Niall and I were discussing as we were preparing this, and we were talking about the endpoint, security, is that, it sounds kind of intimidating. I'm not sure how many, technical people we have on the phone and how many business users we have, but, I come at this from the point of view of a business user, and one of the things that I do know is in our preparing this and talking about the endpoints, this is something that, a junior developer in your organization can usually handle. Or if you're outsourcing your IT service to someone else, this is not an onerous or difficult change for them to make. It would be something that would be relatively routine, and most of the IT service providers that you will use should be able to comfortably handle this, and it shouldn't be a long or difficult effort, a few days type of thing.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you,
hi. This is Dory. So I'm going to be passing along a couple of questions that have come in while you've been talking, Niall. So to start with, are you going to be providing connectors for other SaaS applications such as MS Dynamics platform?
Yes. So the connector protocol we'll be using for the API endpoints will be agnostic that other connectors will be provisioned, but at this time, connecting to other services like MS Dynamics and AWS won't be a part of the current product suite, so that'll be a part of a future consideration this time. But we will be using a standards-based API connectivity model that will allow for that future capability.
Another question on the endpoints. Is ActiveLink still supported in the new environment? And are the ActiveLink URLs changing?
So the ActiveLink or North American link is something that will be decommissioned as a protocol, but there will be other connectivity endpoints provided through this new API model. Okay. It will be one of the protocols that does change, yes.
And for the vast majority of the people that are on this call, they access us, through the web and not through, those sort of mainframe connections like ActiveLink. So for the most part, if you access us through the web, it's a new URL that will have these security features, and so some configuration that would be needed to be done. For those people that have connection points like ActiveLink, there's an ability to get in contact with us or some contact information to reach out to us. We have detailed user guides and migration guides to help for those people with those kinds of protocols, and we can make those available to you, as well as have some of our technology people work with you to navigate that changeover in endpoint.
All right, we'll do, I think, maybe one more question, and then let you move on to the next section. So will you provide JSON as a request/response instead of XML in the future?
Yes, we will. So that JSON is actually the platform for our apps, our products, and our data and our services, and our consumer and commercial bureaus. That will be provided instead of XML or FFF going forward. The path, which is, it's known as a deprecation path, and what deprecation means is that that's the path that something is removed on a slower rate. For the moment, we will be, for existing products, we will be providing XML and FFF as the payload or output format for request. But yes, JSON as the payload or output format will be the new standard that Equifax will be adopting across the board. That deprecation will happen in December of 2023.
So I think important to highlight is that we know that the way we transmit our data, as Niall refers to it as the payload, the way in which we send data to our customers, we currently use two formats, XML and FFF. Yep. And we know that it's not easy for customers to migrate off of that. So we will continue to support those two protocols. But the way of the future and to take full advantage of the things that we're building into transformation and with these new endpoints is to move to JSON. For those that would like to move there right now, we are happy to accommodate that. And as we develop new products and services, we will be developing them and providing them, using the JSON format. But for your existing legacy products and services that you have already coded for and have a set way of ingesting them into your own organizations and databases, we will continue to provide those in whatever your preferred format is, FFF or XML. Now, do you want to maybe pick it up from there and go through the remainder of the slides? And I think there'll probably be, 10 or 15 minutes at the end for additional questions if there are any.
Yep, certainly we can do that. So, finally, what I'd like to leave our conversation off with before we talk a little bit about our overall timelines is a little bit of what we would currently know is our web interface or our user interface changes to the experience and optimizations. So we're going to be providing a refresh. One might call it a modernization, a new look and feel to make our current web portal interface more user-friendly, to provide additional functional capability, and basically to give it an overall functional release to allow our customers to take advantage of a lot of the new capability and functionality that'll be provided in this new transformed experience. So there was a question earlier about single sign-on. That will be a part of the web portal for all of your Equifax products and services that will be provided in this new experience. There will be an auto redirect that will be in place from this old URL, so there won't be any change on the URL side that you will have to do. And eventually that will propagate or change the new URL as we talk about. Another thing that we've alluded to earlier about authentication is that there will be two-factor authentication added to this new user interface and experience. That's going to provide that additional security. The expanded functionality and capability will also be included in that. And as we've alluded to as well, this is really about modernizing and extending the interface or experience for our customers. So there's a lot of upside to the experience, as well as providing additional securitization and appropriate models for this new transformation. So I'd like to discuss right now what that high-level roadmap looks like and what some of the journey is that we're taking and where we are right now and where we'll be going forward in this transformed state. So between now and January 2021, this is the opportunity, both through this webinar and through the additional interactions that you'll have with members of the Equifax team, and for you to sort of begin to plan for the changes that are going to need to take place from both an endpoint and product perspective. And that takes us between now and January of 2021. When we talk about January 2021 to April, we're talking about the UAT and initiate validations and what we would call the standing up of our new products and services. We will be providing both environments at this in a simultaneous level of capability, both this UAT testing opportunity of these new endpoints and products and services, as well as your existing systems and existing configurations. Between April and November of 2021, we will start to incorporate those products, endpoints, data and services, consumer and commercial bureaus in this newly migrated environment with the new endpoints and products, data and services attached to them, so that by December of 2021, we will be shutting down the legacy infrastructure. And when we talk about the legacy infrastructure, we're talking about our mainframe services that we will be decommissioning at that time. So that's just to give you an overall view of this first phase of migration that we're talking about here, that leads us towards ultimately the decommissioning of this legacy infrastructure and this migration to this new off-prem Google Cloud platform that we've been talking about extensively throughout this presentation. So there's some important dates here that are good for a frame of reference and give you the appropriate context to start to provide the planning for what needs to enable this capability. So between now and December of this year is when we recommend the identification of the internal systems that you would normally use to connect with us, that verification to take place. And your IT team would also be involved in what's the work effort that's necessary and the change to convert to this HTTPS protocol that we talked about, and moving off of those legacy connections that we alluded to earlier. Also, there's an opportunity to engage with us between now and December of this year, but of course that channel is open throughout our transformation phase to contact our transformation office at any time. But we recommend in 2020, this being the appropriate planning phase, that this is an opportunity for us to work together in a collaborative manner to ensure that your transformation is successful. So again, what we talked about is to begin to test your new HTTPS connection. Once that opportunity is made available in UAT, will take place between January and April, and that's when the migration to this new HTTPS protocol will take place in production. Production migrations are going to begin in full spec starting June 1st of 2021. We will be sunsetting legacy products, that is legacy consumer products that exist in this previous on-prem mainframe capacity starting in September, until we've concluded our full decommissioning of all of our legacy protocols and products, starting from October till the end of 2021. Now I can take an appropriate pause there, since we have a few minutes left in the hour for any questions that might have come up. I can see that there are a few sitting in the queue. So Dory and Dale, if you wish to bring some forward.
And just while we're waiting for those questions to come up, just to give the audience an idea, we've shown a roadmap that talks about, from here forward. What we haven't shared with you is that Equifax has been working on this for about the last 18 months. And where we stand today is we have rebuilt the Consumer Credit Bureau. We have loaded it with all of our data. And so we have a beta version of what this new cloud-based environment will look like. And it will be ready for production by the beginning of next year. Now we still have to do all the product validations and so on top of that after that. But concurrent with all of that, we are rebuilding the code for all of our products as well, so that we know that when we move them from the legacy environment into this new cloud environment, that they will perform for you tomorrow the way they do today, so that we will provide you with information that if you're talking about a score, how that score performs, what the range of results is, and so on, and it will be the same as it is today. The real advantages from transformation are all the other things you're going to be able to add on later on that I alluded to earlier. It appears we have a couple of questions now, so does somebody want to provide those?
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few that have come in, actually. We start with, how do we know if we are set up this way? And I believe that is in reference to the non-HTTPS connection.
So this is, how would they know in which way that they would be set up today? Is that the question?
Yeah, how would they know what their connection setup is? If whether it's already HTTPS or whether they have one of the legacy protocols that we are endpoints that are being discontinued.
So if they're using a mainframe to mainframe connection, or connecting to us through Active Link or North American Link, or using a TCP/IP direct connection, those are all legacy protocols. If they are connecting directly to us through the web, then they're already connecting to us through HTTPS.
And I think the way for people to understand individually within their companies would be to talk to their IT personnel. They would be able to tell you very quickly how you're connected to us. If you use a connector or you outsource that to an IT provider, again, they would be able to look at the way that you connect to Equifax and be able to tell you very quickly. Failing all of that, if you wanted to get in touch with us, and there's some contact information here, we would be able to assist you with that as well.
Precisely.
Great. And for STF connectivity, I guess this is a point of clarification. Is it just the endpoint URL and credentials that are changing, or is there more to it?
It is the endpoint and protocols that are changing from non-secure to secure connections. So yes, it is just that connectivity, and going forward, it will be when you need to connect to us directly, you will go to that new HTTPS connection, and you will map to our new API endpoint.
And Dory, if I was guessing, I would say what the questioner was probably getting at is if there's more to it. The more to it is really how we transmit the data. That's the payload that Niall was referring to as well. And on a go forward, for new products and services, that will move to JSON. But for all of our existing products and services that people are subscribing to today, they will continue to be provided in FFF or Full File Fix and XML.
Yeah.
So nothing more to do other than changing the endpoint.
Yes, correct.
All right. This is quite a long question, but lots of good points. We currently access reports via your URL portal. Barring our organization having an endpoint that needs to connect, how do our users access the credit report? Will it still be via the redirected URL you mentioned earlier? And if so, when do we expect to have access to that redirected URL?
So the first part of the question would be, yes, it would be going to the redirected URL. That is correct. And that's our reason for making that the old URL be redirected for some time. And yes, the second part of the question, yes, it will be through the portal, as they have previously connected to it as well. And if they are only connecting to us through web and through the portal, there will be no additional endpoint to change. Aside from that, they will need to use and adopt the new security model that's in the developer guide. And as Rob just mentioned a few minutes ago, around the more technology-focused areas, we recommend that either your third-party LOS provider look at the developer guide that we will provide to you, or any of your internal IT resources would be able to assist you with that endpoint additional information.
I think the biggest change that user will experience is that because if they're connecting to the web through the web, as Niall said, there's no endpoint to change. What they will experience is a modernized web interface that will have, in addition to being able to get your pull your credit report, it will also have other self-serve functionality within it to help you be able to self-serve manage your account and other similar things. So it'll have additional functionality that Niall had referenced earlier in the presentation, as well as a newer modernized user interface. Other than that, the connectivity remains the same, and the reports will be accessed the same way.
Right, and as Rob also mentioned too earlier, from a delivery perspective, that XML and FFF that you currently enjoy for reporting, that will, for outputs and payload formats, those will still persist. Those will still stay around until for the foreseeable through this first stage. Okay.
Is there any other questions coming in, Dory?
Other questions? Yeah.
Sure. Why don't we do? I think we have time for maybe one more question before you guys wrap things up.
Sure.
So, sorry, I'm trying to find the one I was looking for. Does this mean that after transformation to the cloud system, that when we pull a credit bureau, the information that would be available on it would be in real time rather than accurate as of the last time the creditor reported to Equifax?
Yes, that's
the currency of the information is always going to be relative to when the contributor last reported it. Mm-hmm. So if a contributor reports, today at 2:52, and we'll be able to load it almost that fast at 2:54, you're going to get it and it's going to be current. But if you're pulling that same report for that same creditor's information 2 weeks from now, the most current information we're going to have is still what that contributor gave us today, right? Because they only, contributors for the most part only update once a month. So I hope that sort of answers your question. I would also say one of the things that we're doing is, for those of you that use our actual credit reports, you'll know they're not the most user-friendly or intuitive, pieces of information you're going to get. The layout is, very kind of old-looking. That will all be modernized. We will be able to group things by mortgages, by revolving lines of credit, etc. And you'll be able to see those in different, much more user-friendly ways, making it which I think, one of the benefits for all of you as customers, as you bring people into your organization, if they're not familiar with credit and credit reporting and Equifax, there's some training required to get people to be able to understand our credit reports. They will become much, much simpler and much more user-friendly. So it'll be much easier for you to, onboard new employees and have them use and access our reports and use them effectively. So I think that's another of the big wins that's coming with this. So if there aren't any questions, and I don't believe that there are, we have time for it, at least at this stage. Just a reminder that at the conclusion of this, there will be the survey pop up. We'd really appreciate it if you can give us a little bit of feedback. I mentioned some of the resources that are available in that resource widget. Please feel free to use those. I think you'll be able to access this deck and in it on the on this last slide. You'll see where you can, access, our support team. If you've got questions around a technical nature, to our help desk. And we have a business transformation webpage where you can go and get regular updates, and we'll be posting, kind of relevant information, including the FAQs or the questions that we've got today, that we'll post them there as FAQs. So we'll continue to update and provide information to you. And I think with that, I wanted to thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you spending this hour with us and your interest in this project. We look forward to successful delivery and are, as I mentioned before, really excited about the benefits that this will bring to our customers. We think that you will really like what we've done here, and we think it'll be a great asset for you in how you work with, support, and onboard your customers. So thank you very much for your time, and hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.
Thank you again.